You find yourself confined within a dank stone cell. Deep beneath the magnificent Colosseum, the largest arena ever constructed in ancient Rome. Above you, a crowd of 50,000 spectators has just witnessed the brutal death of your husband at the claws of a lion, and now they are beginning to disperse. The flickering torches that illuminated their fervent enthusiasm are gradually dimming, casting long shadows that creep closer to your cell. Suddenly, you hear the unmistakable sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps approaching. A dark silhouette looms in your doorway. It's the gladiator who survived the carnage of the day, his body soaked in blood that is not his own. A guard steps forward to unlock your cell, and the gladiator gestures toward you. This isn't a scene from a horror film. This is what transpired on an ordinary Tuesday during the Roman Empire. What follows is a sobering glimpse into the darker realities of Roman unsettling history, often overlooked in our conventional education. This is not conjecture. Roman authors themselves documented these atrocities, and physical evidence can still be found etched into the very stones beneath the Colosseum. By the end of this narrative, your perception of ancient Rome will forever be altered. Hollywood has perpetuated a misleading image of gladiators for decades. Films such as Spartacus and a myriad of other gladiatorial dramas showcase the bloodshed and the glory, the thrilling aspects of rebellion and spectacle, yet they fail to reveal the grim aftermath that transformed the arena from a venue of entertainment into something profoundly more sinister. Historians have introduced a term to encapsulate this dark phenomenon: Victoria Carnali's carnal victory. Interestingly enough, the Romans themselves did not employ such terminology. It was simply a part of their normalized reality. Writers like Martial Juvenal and Seneca chronicled a society in which conquered women were stockpiled beneath arenas, distributed like spoils of war to gladiators who performed with valor. This chilling bureaucratic system operated with the same chilling efficiency as Rome's road constructions and aqueducts. The very civilization that gifted the world with engineering marvels simultaneously mechanized sexual violence with administrative precision. Now, let us descend into the hypogeum, the intricate underground maze beneath the Colosseum, where Rome commodified human beings as if they were mere inventory. This cruelty was not arbitrary. It initiated the moment Rome set foot in a new territory. Defeated populations were systematically processed. Men were sent to demise in mines or arenas. Children were sold into distant slavery. Women were labeled captive estate property under Roman law. Legally, they were not recognized as human. They were classified as raised objects. Under this definition, a conquered woman was afforded the same legal status as an inanimate object. You cannot commit a crime against a chair, and the same held true for her. The gladiatorial games further entrenched this dehumanization. They were more than mere entertainment. They served as political theater. When an audience bore witness to a captured chieftain being torn apart by wild beasts, they were not merely observing death. It was a stark warning. This fate awaited anyone who dared to defy Rome. And during the intermissions, the so-called fatal charades took place, mythological scenes presented by condemned prisoners whose eventual deaths were all too real. Martial recounts the horrific spectacle of a man in an Orpheus costume mauled by a bear while the audience indulged in honeyed dates. He also describes a woman reenacting the myth of Proserpine, violated by a bull until her demise, serving as grotesque entertainment for families and senators during lunch hour. This chilling environment paved the way for the exploitation of conquered women within the gladiatorial reward system. Now, let us consider the gladiators themselves. They were viewed through a perplexing lens of admiration and repulsion. These men were slaves, possessing fewer legal protections than dogs, yet they achieved celebrity status, their images immortalized in mosaics. Women of high society were enamored with the ancient graffiti referred to gladiators as the sigh of the girls and the glory of the ladies. Some privileged noblewomen even resorted to bribery to secretly meet with gladiators. Their sweat was collected, mixed with oils, and marketed as an aphrodisiac. It was believed that their blood had the power to cure epilepsy. Yet, despite their perceived status, the Romans were wary of gladiators. The notorious Spartacus revolt and uprising, led by just 78 gladiators, which amassed an army of 70,000, came perilously close to unraveling the empire. When the uprising was ultimately quelled, the Romans executed a gruesome vengeance. crucifying 6,000 men along the roadside leading to Capua. This memory loomed large in the minds of the Romans. Gladiators were skilled, dangerous, and brimming with resentment. To maintain control, the empire employed a mixture of brutality juxtaposed with incentives, bounties for success, additional rations, and, according to sporadic but consistent accounts, access to the conquered women held captive beneath the arenas. The historical records are often vague because, to the Romans, this was an unremarkable aspect of their society. It was viewed as a privilege of the victor reward for noteworthy achievements. Chroniclers referred to this access as if everyone understood it inherently. Here's how the process likely unfolded. After a triumphant performance in the arena, the victorious gladiator would be led into the hypogeum still clad in his armor and dripping with blood. Government officials would escort him through narrow, torch-lit passages, encountering cages of animals and intricate machinery, until they arrived at a secluded series of holding cells. Archaeological excavations confirm the existence of these chambers. Small stone enclosures with benches at various heights, iron rings bolted into walls, and floors and heavy doors that only locked from the outside. Some of these rooms displayed permanent fixtures for chaining. Inside these chambers were the captivi damnate female war captives processed. Through the oppressive bureaucracy of Rome, their origins were meticulously recorded. Germanica, Britannica, Parthica, each assigned a distinct number. They were treated as property, monitored as if they were mere tools or equipment. The gladiator might have the choice of which cell to enter, or one might be assigned to him. With the door closed and the lock audibly clanging shut, Roman law afforded no protection to the person confined within. This was not an aberration. It was how the system functioned. We rewarded gladiators at minimal cost, utilized women who were already considered state property, and reinforced Rome's overarching message of domination. The findings of archaeology corroborate this dark reality. When 19th century excavators unearthed the hypogeum of the Colosseum, they discovered chambers devoid of any logistical purpose, only those benches, chains, and secured doors. The graffiti found carved into walls of Capua's amphitheater reads haunting messages. "I was Aemilia of the Brigantes. I witnessed my children's slaughter. Now I am nothing. To any deity who will listen, allow me to die before dawn." The stones of the arena have preserved truths that Roman histories often sought to deny. These women had already suffered the ruin of their worlds, following battles in Gaul, Judea, Britain, or the Danube. The Romans executed their methodical procedures. Men killed or enslaved for labor. Children separated and sold. Women fated for the arenas. They were marched for hundreds of miles in chains, evaluated like livestock, stripped of their identities and reduced to mere numbers. Within the hypogeum, they heard the tumult of the crowd above cheers, roars, and the terrifying screams of wild beasts, understanding that they would never see freedom again. Rome had no interest in ransoming captives. Their families back home would remain unaware of their fates. This was psychological warfare. Following the Jewish revolt of 70 AD, the historian Josephus noted that women were intentionally distributed among soldiers and used in games to convey to Jewish men that they were powerless to protect their women. Rome expertly wielded the symbolic power of such cruelty. At times, the system became too visible for Rome's comfort, revealing an uncomfortable truth: the existence of female gladiators, or gladiatresses. Some were slaves, while others belonged to aristocratic families seeking a taste of notoriety and essence, scandalizing the Roman elite. The satirist Juvenal derided the phenomenon, asking, "What shame can be found in a woman who wears a helmet?" Around 200 AD, Emperor Septimius Severus witnessed female gladiators fighting in Antioch, only to be met with mockery and sexualization from the crowd, turning the brutal combat into a crude spectacle. Severus was humiliated not by the violence itself, but by its public visibility. Consequently, he decreed a ban on women participating in arena combat. However, the maltreatment of female captives did not cease. It merely withdrew into the shadows, away from public scrutiny. The gladiatorial games endured for centuries, even after Christianity was declared the Roman Empire's state religion. They finally came to an end following an incident in 404 AD, when a monk named Telemachus leapt into the arena and was killed by the crowd. In response, Emperor Honorius outlawed gladiatorial combat. However, the infrastructure that sustained this system of captivity persisted until the eventual collapse of Rome, which put an end to the supply of conquered peoples. The machinery of oppression did not fold due to moral revulsion. It collapsed because the pool of victims had run dry. Today, countless tourists flock to the Colosseum, snapping photographs under the glare of the sun, while tour guides extol the engineering triumphs and gladiatorial heroics. Very few mention the dark chambers below, yet the iron rings still remain bolted into the stone. The scratch marks endure. And records listing human beings as mere inventory linger in archives. The evidence exists, not hidden, but willfully ignored. The Colosseum stands not merely as a monument to the grandeur of Rome, but as a somber reminder of the toll that empire demands. The spectacular displays on the sandy floor were only one side of the story that Rome wished to project. The other, the systematic machinery of dehumanization unfolded in darkness, deep beneath your feet once the cheering had ceased. Those voices were never intended to endure, yet the walls bore witness. If this revelation has unveiled aspects of history you had never encountered before, consider subscribing and enabling notifications as we continue to unearth the narratives that history tried to erase. Share your thoughts in the comments and join me in the next exploration into the shadows of our past.